Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good day and that you're looking after yourselves and one another. Today we are tackling favorite sidelong epic tracks, epic in quotes. The other day I was trying to think of artists that had albums in their catalog, whether it be a single, double, or triple disc, that had sides that were dedicated to just one track. Originally I was going to do five because I didn't want it to be too long. I came up with 22 on my list, quite long. So I decided to cut that down to 20. I came up with 20 artists that are guilty of this offense, whether it be an offense or not. And you would think that being, using the term sidelong epic track, you would think automatically, or I did, of the progressive rock genre. Not the case. There are other artists in other genres, jazz fusion, even pop, that wanted to write experimental pieces of music and basically wanted to stretch it as far as they could. In one case, the artist and producer were encouraged by the record company after they turned in an acetate of a song they worked on to take the piece of music and extend it to as far as they could, right? So we'll get into that. For the purposes of this episode, I've split it up into two. So in part one, I'm going to cover numbers 20 to 11. And in part two, we're going to cover numbers 10 to 1. Now, just because an artist, sorry, is listed lower on the list, it doesn't mean that I think that the artist is substandard or that the music is not up to par with the rest of whoever's on the list. But when you do these lists, these artists have to go somewhere, right? So here's the list. So we're going to start off with part one. At number 20, we have Yes with Close to the Edge. Released September 8th, 1972. This is the band's follow-up release to their successful release, Fragile, from 1971. Both albums were produced by the band and Eddie Alford. Close to the Edge. Now, when you think of sidelong epics with regards to Yes, people are going to say, well, why didn't you pick tracks from Tales from Topographic Oceans or Relayer, right? Well, most people talk about Tales of Topographic Oceans or Relayer, so I wanted to go somewhere different. And Close to the Edge was the first time that the band specifically concentrated on writing an extended piece of music. Now, the idea came from John Anderson and Steve Howe. They were the two main songwriters on this piece. And again, it clocks in at a massive 18 minutes and 45 seconds. There are four parts to it. The Solid Time of Change, Total Mass Retain, I Get Up, I Get Down, and Seasons of Man. The inspiration for the track was the fact that John Anderson, while they were on tour for Fragile, was reading a copy of Lord of the Rings. And, he wanted to come up, purposely develop an extended piece of music. And with the encouragement of Steve Howe, they came up with Close to the Edge. Now, the piece, um, after listening to it closely, is quite extraordinary. It's amazing. The album, sorry, I forgot to mention the album has two other tracks on side two. So you have on side two and You and I and Siberian Cat True. Okay. Now, Close to the Edge, in terms of its composition, it starts off with keyboards, a keyboard passage, I should say, intermingled with a waterfall effect and birds chirping. What they did for this was they went into the woods and recorded this. And it took about 40 meters of tape in order to get it done, and about 2 days in order to complete that part of the recording. Now, again, this was at a time where record companies encouraged their bands to go off and do whatever they needed to do to complete whatever work they were working on, because obviously record companies wanted product. So But again, the track itself features intricate time signature changes, just amazing work from Chris Squire on bass. You know, you can really hear the Rickenbacker bass guitar on this track. You know, Rickenbacker, not Rickenbacker, if you listen to Tom Petty. And the harmony vocals done by John Anderson and Chris Squire are just fantastic, just amazing. And I just think it's a fantastic piece of work. It's very daring, and it's honestly it's quite beautiful. So that's number 20. As I go through my list here, coming in at number 19, we have Jethro Tull, Thick as a Brick, Part 1. Thick as a Brick, released March 3rd, 1972. The reason behind this album and the composition, it was quite interesting. Ian Anderson basically is Jethro Tull, main songwriter, you know, longstanding member, the only member that's been there from the very beginning, obviously, was infuriated that music critics referred to Aqualung from the year before as a concept album, and that Jethro Tull were a progressive rock band. He thought that that term was better used on bands like ELP, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and yes, Genesis, etc. He never thought of Jethro Tull as a progressive rock band. So he sat there, he thought, okay, you know what? Okay, suckers, I'm going to show you. So he purposely sat down and wrote an extended piece of music. This piece of music um, takes up two sides, but we're going to be concentrating on part one. Okay. Clocking in again at a massive 22 minutes and 37 seconds. This album was followed up many years later, I believe it was 2012, by Thick as a Brick Part 2, that was released as a Ian Anderson solo album. But, you know, the classic is obviously, you know, Thick as a Brick, the original release from 72. And if I didn't mention this before, DJs loved playing songs like this because it would give them a lot of time to go use the bathroom, go for a smoke while the entire side played. They had time to do so. Now, the basis for this track was a fiction based on for a fictional character called Gerald Bostock and his basically his adventures and stuff. The piece starts off very slow, very quiet, you know, with an acoustic guitar intro mixed with flute. Ian Anderson plays a flute like a guitarist does a guitar solo. He's a master of that. And just amazing. And it starts off with the lyric, I really don't mind if you sit this one out, done very sort of off the cuff. And it goes along very nice, just sort of very descending acoustic guitar lines, chords, etc. But then you start hearing little stabs of electric guitar and drums that come in. So slowly the track is building. And then when it goes, it just takes off like you would not believe. Just amazing. Just amazing. And it's very intricate, at times very frenetic, fast-paced time signature changes, etc. Just beautiful. And it's done to perfection. Okay. If you want to put on an album and just listen to this one track and take your time, this is the album for you. Okay. So that's number 19. Coming in at number 18, it's Genesis with Supper's Ready. Foxtrot released September 15th, 1972. Though I didn't realize that the first three listings on this list were all released in 1972. It's a happy accident. Again, released September 15th, 1972. Supper's Ready from Foxtrot. Now, I know what people are going to say, you know, that's not the only track on side two. There's Horizons. Well, Steve Howe, when they did the reissue, packaging for the back catalog, and they did the interviews talking about the story of the albums. Steve Howe, oh, Steve Howe, sorry, Steve Hackett has said that, you know, people generally do think of Horizons as an intro to Supper's Ready. So if Steve Hackett, the composer of said piece, is okay with including Horizons with Supper's Ready as one long track, who are we to argue? Okay, so just so you know, Supper's Ready clocks in again at mammoth 23 minutes and 6 seconds. Okay, beautiful piece. And Tony Banks had said in the interviews for the reissues that they purposely sat down to write an epic long side length track, and it's hilarious. It's heavy. It's melodic. It's also comical in some spots, right? Um, the the inspiration for this track, I also did it. A video a few months ago under the title The Definitive Prog Track, and I featured this track. So please go back and watch it. I break down the track in terms of the arrangements and what was the inspiration. The inspiration for Supper's Radio, I'll just go into it briefly, was one night when Peter Gabriel and his wife Jill were with John Burns, producer, who they were visiting Joe's parents and they were smoking up. And then at one point, Joe Gabriel turned to both of them and started speaking in a low register in her tone, like her tone, almost a demonic tone. And she wasn't making any sense. She was speaking in tongues. Well, they put her to bed, right? It kind of unnerved them. And then when Peter Gabriel was looking out the window, he thought he saw figures standing on the lawn, staring at the window with hoods on. And he kind of felt that he was looking out into another dimension, another realm. So that was the inspiration for this piece. It is sublime. It is fantastic. It is amazing. Okay. It takes you on a journey. You may not understand all of it, but at the time, I really don't think they understood all of it when they were writing it. So, you know what? It's a fantastic piece of work. That's number 18. Coming in at number 17 is Mike Oldfield, Tubular Bells, Part 1. Released May 25th, 1973. This was Mike Oldfield's, who I do believe was 19 years old at the time, was his debut release for Virgin Records. I do believe that this is Virgin Records' first release ever. Tubular Bells, Part 1 clocks in at 19 minutes, 52 seconds. And the first 3 or 4 minutes of this piece was used in the film The Exorcist, right? What I like about this piece of music is it has various movements, various sections. It goes from tranquil to rocking to jarring. And the last 2 or 3 minutes of the track, it goes into it goes into a melodic section where the melody is repeated over and over again. And an individual listed as the master of ceremonies, his name is Vivian. The last name escapes me right now on the original release. He lists all of the instruments that are being played. And as he announces the instruments being played, you hear the instrument being played, that same melody that's being repeated. And it is very angelic, very eerie too at times, because for me, I'm always thinking of The Exorcist. It's very difficult to not think of The Exorcist, but I think it is a beautiful piece of work. I was surprised that Mike Oldfield re-recorded it in 2003 because he had said that the instruments on the original recording were out of tune. And he was surprised that they were out of tune. So he re-recorded it and released it in 2003. And John Cleese serves as the master of ceremonies on the 2003 reissue. And if you get the 50th anniversary edition of Tubular Bells, there is a track, an 8-minute demo version of Tubular Bells for the introduction. And last I read, Michael Field has retired. He has decided not to continue with Tubular Bells 4, which he was going to start to work on in 2017. So if you want to get a copy of the Tubular Bells 4 introduction demo, you have to get the 50th anniversary edition of the original Tubular Bells. Fantastic track, right? Just amazing. And again, it takes you on a journey, right? That's number 17. Coming in at number 16 is Caligula's Horse with Charcoal Grace. Released February 26th of 2024. Caligula's Horse, again, a progressive metal band, alternative rock band from Australia. Very heavy, but also very melodic. This track clocks in the title track from their latest album, sixth release, Charcoal Grace, clocks in at 24 minutes and 9 seconds. It covers tracks, excuse me, tracks 3 to 6 on the album. So it's basically right in the center of the album. If this track was released as one piece overall, it would be considered a side-long epic, which it is. It's separated into 4 parts. So you have the 4 parts are you have Pray, A World Without, Vigil, and Give Me Hell. Okay. Now, again, Jim Gray, lead vocalist for Charcoal Grace, has an amazing touch on vocals. Very soft approach on his vocals, almost like I call it a yearning, right? A yearning appeal to his vocal delivery. Uh, very much full of angst, but he can also be very aggressive when he wants to be on the vocals. And it talks about the story behind the track, talks about an individual who has suffered abuse at the hands of his father in various forms. And at one point, the father contacts the son, leaves a message saying, I'm dying. I need to talk to you. I need to make amends to you. I want to make amends to you for what I did to you and your mother. And then the son eventually contacts his father and says, you know what? No, you don't get to say I'm sorry. You don't get to say I'm sorry and be absolved for everything that you did to me and to her. Um, I'm going to take what I'm feeling, take this hate that I'm feeling, and hold on to it. And if it means I'm going to go to hell for not forgiving you, give me hell because I don't care. Right. The the track, again, 24 minutes and 9 seconds in length, massive, massive track. Various sections, various intricate pieces of music, heavy. And Sam Vallon, who is the guitarist and producer of the albums, his guitar playing in terms of rhythm guitar is very sort of precision, like guitar, rhythm guitar. And when he does guitar solos in terms of lead guitar, he has a very thick, rich tone, uses a lot of harmonics on the guitar solos. Just amazing, just amazing. You really need to check this out. Check this album out. You can get it on Amazon. It's not very expensive. Also on Discogs, and you can also stream it on YouTube. So that's number 16. Coming in at number 15 is Focus with Eruption. Focus released their album Moving Waves in October of 1971. Eruption takes up all of side 2, clocking in at 23 minutes and 35 seconds. There are 15 sections, the majority of which were written by keyboardist, and I hope I say this right, Thys van Leer. So, and Jan Ackerman, guitarist, has also, I do believe he wrote one or two of the sections. Fantastic piece of work. In my notes, I have here nice use of guitar on this track. There's also a timpani section on this piece, just amazing. And as I scroll my notes down, there's a great drum solo on this track and fantastic use of Mellotron. Okay, if you like Mellotron, go to the 70s albums for progressive rock. They are dripping with Mellotron, just amazing. And there's also a choir on backing vocals for this piece, just beautiful. Just, it's heavy, it's rocking, a lot of rhythm guitar, a lot of harmony guitar from Jan Ackerman, but also there's also some beautiful piano moments. Are very quiet, very sort of dreamlike, and it does take you on a journey. So please check out Focus, if you haven't heard them before. Just great. Coming in at number 14 is Rush with Cygnus 10, Book 2. Released October 24th, 1978, from the album Hemispheres. This takes up all of side one. This is the continuation of Cygnus Book 1. In my notes, 6 distinct parts, okay? And this was the last time that Rush would write a sidelong epic piece of work, piece of music, and this is epic. It's not that they didn't want to write progressive rock music anymore, but they thought, you know what, they've done it to death, right? And the sidelong epic piece of work at that point with progressive rock had been done to death. So they wanted to reconfigure and reimagine what progressive rock music is. Does it have to be an 18-minute piece of music? Right? In their eyes and in their minds, it didn't have to be. Just an amazing piece of work, and it continues the story from book 1, from A Farewell to Kings. Talk about this individual who goes off on a spaceship and gets sucked into a black hole, right? It's just amazing, amazing. That's number 14. Coming in at number 13 is Todd Rundgren's Utopia. Todd Rundgren's Utopia, released October of 1974. The track that we're going to be talking about is The Icon. Holy shit. Clocking in at a whopping 30 minutes and 22 seconds. Now, with this album, is it art rock? Is it progressive rock? I think it's a combination of both, because you have a lot of a use of, I guess you'd say, like a lot of keyboards in terms of icons, like space type of melodies on the keyboards. A lot of use of intricate time signature changes, a lot of use of guitar melded in with keyboards. Um, just great. And I believe it was like the first 6 minutes, it's all instrumental. So a lot of intricate time signature changes on the drums and the keyboards and guitar. Again, is it listed as art rock? Again, in my notes here, multiple time signature changes. Again, this is just a massive piece of work. And you know what? It's great. And Todd Rundgren, I was going to say Todd Rundgren, um, was known for pushing the barriers. Now, vinyl playing time, maximum vinyl playing time, was known to be somewhere between 17 to 20 minutes. 30 minutes and 22 seconds. So in order for him to fit everything of the icon on one side, he had to compress the music. Well, when you compress the music too much for vinyl, it compromises the sound quality. Now on CD, that wasn't an issue, right? because everything would fit. But for the LP, he had to compress the music, and it did affect the sound quality. I've had both the album on vinyl and on CD, and when you hear it on vinyl, it does sound very flat, very tinny, like almost like a tin sound. So, and it does get affected, but you know what? It is still an intricate piece of music that takes you on a journey, and you know what? It is still accessible at the same time. So if you want to hear something that just it doesn't have to make sense, you just have to enjoy what you're listening to. This is the track for you. That's number 13. Coming in on number 12, Miles Davis with Bitches Brew. Bitches Brew released on March 30th, 1970 for Columbia Records. This one track, the title track, clocks in at 27 minutes even. And on this track alone, you have Chick Corea, Jack DeJohnette, sorry, John McLaughlin, Don Elias, Wayne Shorter, just on this one track. And what he would do, what Miles Davis would do is he had multiple musicians playing the same instrument. So he have two drummers, one for the left channel, one for the right channel, two keyboard players, again, one for the right channel, one for the left channel. And it's just massive. And just a bit of background. When he sent a memo to Columbia Records and said that this is going to be the name of the album, Bitches Brew, Columbia Records were nervous and they wrote him back saying, like, are you crazy? Like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, to name an album Bitches Brew, like, what are you thinking about? He's like, you know what? That's the name, and we're going to stick to it, and that's it. Now, for this piece of music, it is jazz fusion, avant-garde jazz, whatever you want to call it. It's also funk, very experimentational, right? Just amazing. And what I like about what Miles Davis does with this album is, okay, he'll give you the structure of a track. Okay, this is what I want to have happen here. This is the basic structure of what we're going to do. But he also allowed the artists that worked with him to stretch out and do whatever they wanted to do with the piece of music, right? As long as it fit what he wanted to have on tape. He basically said, go for it, right? Play whatever you want to play. If I don't like it, we'll take it out. But you know what? He liked most of it. And it is just amazing. It is just beautiful. And there are sort of quiet keyboard, moments, organ moments and stuff done by Chick Corea. And then you'd hear, trumpet stabs come out of nowhere. So it's like you're lulled into a sense of like, okay, this is going to be a nice, quiet, peaceful, tranquil section. And then you hear a trumpet stab and you're like, you wake up. It's like, what the hell, right? Just amazing. So closing out part one, coming in at number 11 is King Crimson with Lizard. Lizard released December 11th, 1970, of the album of the same name. This takes up all of side two, and this clocks in at 23 minutes and 25 seconds. Now, this album is listed as progressive rock and avant-garde jazz. I would put it in the realm of avant-garde jazz. Okay, has four sections to it, and those are Prince Rupert Awakes, featuring John Anderson on vocals, Bolero, The Peacock's Tail, the Battle of Glass Tears. I can never say that name properly, and it ends with Big Top. Now, with regards to this track, a lot of use of Mellotron, a lot of use of just experimental sections. Um, Again, if you love Mellotron, this is the album for you and the track for you overall. It's great. Again, it takes you on a journey. and you're just sort of, you just sit back and you just relax. You don't even need to worry about what's going on around you. This just takes you away. And what I like about this track, Lizard, again, it's experimental. Okay. It again, King Crimson were one of those bands, or are one of those bands that they did whatever the hell they wanted to do. They none of their pieces of music, or majority of the pieces of music, fit into the 3.5 minute pop format. And again, Island Records and Atlantic Records, that this album was released on, they allowed their artists at that time to just go off and do whatever the hell they wanted to do. This was at a time where if a band said to the record company, "I want to bring in, I want to bring in a camel in a diaper, we're smoking a cigarette into the studio because it's going to give me inspiration." If if that meant that it was going to get the work done, the record companies would move heaven and hell in order to get that done. So King Crimson fell into that box. And King Crimson were one of those bands too that they were left alone to their own devices to do whatever the hell they wanted to do. And most often than not, it worked. And this is just a beautiful piece of avant-garde jazz mixed with, again, with progressive rock, right? So that's it for part one of favorite song epic tracks. Please put down in the list down there, down below, your list of favorite sidelong epic tracks, epic in quotes, obviously. I'm going to be back with part two. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm also going to be doing more shows with Bill Schuster. He's been busy these days with family responsibilities and with overtime at work, but we're going to be back with part two and three of our uh, t 30 progressive rock tracks, top 30 progressive rock tracks. And we're also going to be doing new music discovery, where we're going to be talking about the Tea Party and their major label debut for EMI called Splendor Solace, where we're going to flip the script and Bill is going to give us his impressions on the album and on the band. Much like we did with George Jackson, we're going to go through all of uh, the Tea Party's catalog, and Bill is going to give you his impression of the band. You guys already know I love the Tea Party. Without them, in the 90s, I don't know where I would have been musically and listened to music. So that's it for now. Please take care of yourselves and one another. Click like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content that got coming up. But for right now, I will bid you goodbye and hope you have a good day. Take care. Bye for now.